What if the greatest threat to a superpower wasn't another superpower, but a nation that refuses to bow? A country surrounded by enemies, buried under sanctions, and constantly threatened with war, yet still standing, still rising, still defying. This isn't just politics. It's a story of resistance, strategy, and unshakable identity. Today we uncover why the United States fears Iran more than any other nation. Not because of what's on the surface, but because of what lies beneath, a deeper truth hidden in maps, in history, in the mindset of a people who have been told to kneel and refused. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear will challenge everything you thought you knew about power, fear, and survival. This is not just a speech, it's a revelation. And once you understand this truth, you'll never see the world the same way again. Iran's geographic position is one of its most powerful strategic assets, making it a central focus of U.S. geopolitical concern. Located at the crossroads of the Middle East, Central Asia, and South Asia, Iran serves as a bridge between East and West, sitting atop vast energy reserves and bordering key regional players like Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Turkey. But what truly sets Iran apart is its control over the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway through which nearly 1/5 of the world's oil supply flows. This strait acts as a choke point for global energy markets, and Iran's ability to disrupt or block it, even temporarily, could trigger a catastrophic economic ripple across the planet. This alone gives Iran a kind of soft deterrence that few other nations possess. For the United States, whose global dominance relies heavily on controlling the world's energy flows, this represents a serious challenge. Iran's terrain also makes military intervention extremely difficult, with its mountains, deserts, and a deeply entrenched defensive infrastructure. Iran is not an easy country to invade or occupy. Unlike other Middle Eastern states that have fallen quickly to Western military pressure, Iran has engineered its geography into a defensive shield. Missile sites are buried in hardened bunkers. Key facilities are hidden within the folds of the Alborz and Zagros mountain ranges. Its coastal positions along the Persian Gulf are fortified with naval assets capable of asymmetrical warfare, including fast attack boats, sea mines, and anti-ship missiles. These assets are not designed for conquest, but for deterrence, for making any aggressive move against Iran a costly one. This geographic advantage is paired with Iran's proximity to U.S. military bases across the region, from Qatar to Bahrain to the UAE. American assets are within striking distance of Iranian missiles. In any conflict, Iran doesn't have to cross oceans. It simply needs to reach across its borders. This proximity creates a constant tension, a pressure point that no diplomatic effort can fully diffuse. For the U.S., it's like sitting across the table from a rival who knows exactly how to flip the board over if pushed too far. Iran's geography has given it a natural authority in the region, one that can't be removed by sanctions, propaganda, or precision airstrike. Iran's ability to thrive under the weight of decades-long sanctions is one of the most significant reasons why it is feared and respected by the United States. Since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, Iran has faced waves of economic, political, and military sanctions from the West, particularly the U.S. These sanctions have targeted almost every critical sector: oil exports, banking, trade, aviation, shipping, and more. Yet despite this pressure, Iran has not only survived, but adapted, developing a powerful model of self-reliance and resistance that defies conventional expectations. This resilience challenges the effectiveness of the U.S. most commonly used foreign policy weapon, economic warfare. Rather than collapsing, Iran invested in domestic innovation and infrastructure. It began building its own industrial base, designing homegrown technologies in everything from military hardware to pharmaceuticals and nanotechnology. Iranian scientists and engineers developed advanced missile systems, drones, and even satellite launch capabilities, all without access to Western tools or international markets. In agriculture, Iran turned to localized food production to minimize reliance on imports. Its universities grew stronger, and a new generation of educated youth emerged, determined to take the country forward under pressure, not in spite of it. One of the clearest examples of this self-sufficiency is Iran's military industry. When denied access to foreign arms, it created its own weapons, sometimes inspired by reverse-engineered foreign models, but refined through indigenous knowledge. The result is an arsenal tailored to its own defense needs, precise, cost-effective, and hard to predict. Iran's domestic energy sector has also adapted, with the country building refineries, expanding natural gas infrastructure, and exploring alternative methods of oil trade with strategic partners like China and Russia. This self-sustaining model doesn't just strengthen Iran internally, it signals to the rest of the world that resistance is possible. It undermines the core principle behind U.S. sanctions to isolate and cripple a nation until it complies. Iran has turned this narrative on its head, proving that a country with the will, intellect, and strategic vision can survive outside the U.S.-dominated global system. The fear in Washington isn't just about Iran's capabilities. It's about the precedent Iran sets. If Iran can break free from Western economic control and still stand tall, then other nations may try to do the same. That is the deeper threat, the hidden truth, and the reason why Iran remains a defiant outlier in a world shaped by American influence. Iran's mastery of asymmetrical warfare has fundamentally altered the way power is understood and exercised in the modern Middle East, posing a unique challenge to the conventional military superiority of the United States. Unlike traditional warfare, which relies on large armies, tanks, and aircraft carriers, asymmetrical warfare exploits flexibility, unpredictability, and indirect confrontation. Iran has refined this strategy to a level that allows it to project power far beyond its borders without direct confrontation, making it difficult for even the most advanced military forces to respond effectively. This is one of the core reasons why the U.S. fears Iran, not for its size, but for its strategic ingenuity. Instead of engaging the U.S. head-on, Iran has built a powerful network of proxy forces and allied militias across the region. Groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Popular Mobilization Forces in Iraq, and the Houthis in Yemen all share deep ties to Tehran. These forces are not only ideologically aligned, but are also equipped and trained with Iranian support. They serve as extensions of Iran's defense strategy, capable of launching coordinated attacks, destabilizing adversaries, and creating deterrence without requiring the Iranian military to take responsibility or absorb retaliation. This use of regional alliances allows Iran to fight wars without fighting them directly. Beyond physical combat, Iran has also excelled in cyber warfare. Its cyber units have conducted sophisticated operations against U.S. infrastructure, Israeli systems, and Gulf state networks. These cyber attacks, while less visible than missile strikes, have the power to disrupt economies, spy on governments, and gather strategic intelligence. The Iranian cyber threat adds another layer of complexity to any military or diplomatic calculation the U.S. must make. Iran's military philosophy emphasizes survival through deterrence, not domination. It knows it cannot outgun the U.S. in open battle, so it has made it too costly for anyone to attack. With swarms of speedboats patrolling the Persian Gulf, mobile missile launchers hidden in mountain caves, and a network of loyal fighters across multiple countries, Iran has created a decentralized but unified defense system. Any attack on Iran could trigger responses in multiple countries, destabilizing entire regions. This unpredictable, multidimensional nature of Iran's warfare is what makes it so dangerous in the eyes of Washington. It cannot be easily defeated, dismantled, or even fully understood. And that makes it one of the most formidable non-nuclear threats to American global power. Iran's power does not stem solely from its weapons or alliances, but from its revolutionary ideology, which challenges the very foundations of Western global dominance. The 1979 Islamic Revolution was not merely a regime change. It was the birth of a new political doctrine that rejected colonial influence, Western materialism, and submission to foreign powers. Unlike many governments in the region that serve as client states or allies of the U.S., Iran promotes a model rooted in sovereignty, religious identity, and resistance. This ideological defiance has proven far more enduring and influential than any temporary military advantage. And it is precisely this defiance that Washington fears most. While the U.S. spreads its influence through military bases, economic agreements, and cultural exports, Iran spreads its message through resilience, symbolism, and example. Its leaders openly speak against the US-led world order, inspiring millions across the Middle East and beyond. This ideology gives Iran a kind of spiritual ammunition, a sense of purpose that strengthens its people during hardship and makes its leadership immune to the usual levers of pressure. When Iran endures sanctions, political isolation, or military threats, it doesn't frame these as losses, but as tests of faith and dignity. This transforms pain into pride, struggle into honor, and survival into a moral victory. Iran's ideological stance resonates with oppressed and marginalized communities worldwide, whether it is Palestinian resistance movements, disenfranchised Shia populations in the Gulf, or anti-imperialist thinkers in Latin America and Africa. Iran represents a model of standing up to overwhelming force. This is a threat to the US, not because it changes military balance, but because it challenges narrative control. If Iran can survive and assert itself without compromising its identity, it sends a dangerous message that Western approval is not essential for national success. This ideology also shapes Iran's foreign policy. It supports movements that resist occupation and intervention, regardless of their ethnicity or geography, as long as they share its values of self-determination. Unlike purely interest-based alliances, Iran's connections are often forged through shared belief systems, which makes them more resilient. Even when isolated politically or economically, Iran continues to exert influence because it inspires rather than bribe. The US is accustomed to nations bending under pressure, but Iran bends narratives instead. It undermines the idea that there is only one acceptable path to modernity: liberal democracy under Western guidance. And this ideological divergence is what makes Iran not just an enemy, but a philosophical rival in the global arena. Iran's growing regional influence and network of allies present one of the most complex and persistent challenges to US dominance in the Middle East. Over the years, Iran has strategically expanded its presence across Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen, not through occupation, but through diplomacy, ideological alignment, and long-term support for local movements. This web of influence, often referred to as the axis of resistance, counters US and Israeli interests in nearly every corner of the region. What makes this particularly threatening for the United States is that Iran has accomplished this without the vast economic resources or military infrastructure that global superpowers typically rely on. Instead, Iran has used cultural ties, religious affiliations, and shared resistance to foreign domination to build lasting relationships with key groups and governments in Iraq. Iran has positioned itself as a key power broker, supporting Shia militias and political parties that play a major role in government formation. Despite the US investing trillions of dollars in Iraq, Iranian-backed factions often hold more influence on the ground. In Syria, Iran has been a central ally of President Bashar al-Assad, sending advisors, resources, and fighters to help preserve his regime during the civil war. This involvement ensured that Iran gained strategic access to Syria territory, allowing for the establishment of military infrastructure close to Israeli borders. In Lebanon, Hezbollah, arguably the most powerful non-state military force in the world, acts as both a political party and a heavily armed militia. Trained and funded by Iran, Hezbollah has become a major deterrent against Israeli aggression and a symbol of Iranian reach. In Yemen, the Houthi movement, though locally rooted, has benefited from Iranian support and its resistance against the Saudi-led coalition, further complicating the geopolitical balance in the Arabian Peninsula. What truly unnerves Washington is that Iran's allies are not just dependent proxies. They are ideologically motivated, embedded in their societies, and deeply committed to resisting Western agendas. Iran's model of influence is not built on economic aid packages or imposed governments, but on long-term investment in shared goals and cultural identity. This gives Iran a unique staying power in the region that is not easily dismantled by sanctions or military strikes. The US is left grappling with a rival that expands influence not by conquest, but by conviction, by cultivating loyalty rather than demanding submission, and by weaving itself into the very political and social fabric of the Middle East. Iran's nuclear program remains one of the most effective tools of strategic ambiguity in modern geopolitics, creating a state of constant tension that benefits Tehran far more than open disclosure would. For decades, the international community, particularly the United States and Israel, has speculated about whether Iran is secretly developing nuclear weapons. Yet, Iran maintains a deliberate posture. It insists its nuclear ambitions are peaceful, while simultaneously enriching uranium to levels that inch closer to weapons-grade capability. This ambiguity generates anxiety, forces global powers to engage diplomatically, and ensures Iran stays at the center of strategic calculations without ever crossing the red line that could justify a full-scale war. The genius of Iran's nuclear strategy lies not in building a bomb, but in building doubt. This uncertainty acts as a deterrent. If adversaries cannot be sure whether Iran has the capability to retaliate with nuclear force, they must tread carefully. The U.S., with its experience in Iraq, where the justification for war was based on faulty intelligence about weapons of mass destruction, is reluctant to make the same mistake again. Iran understands this and uses it to maintain a careful balance. Enough advancement to command respect and fear, but not enough to provoke an unavoidable military response. Iran's nuclear program also serves as a powerful symbol of technological progress and national pride. Despite sanctions, sabotage, and international isolation, Iran has managed to develop advanced centrifuges, construct underground enrichment facilities like Fordow and Natanz, and train a generation of nuclear scientists. This persistence in the face of global pressure sends a clear message to its people and the world. Iran cannot be bullied into submission. Every new phase of nuclear development is not just a technical achievement, it is a political statement. Moreover, the nuclear issue gives Iran leverage in global negotiations. It can choose to accelerate or decelerate its program based on diplomatic needs, using its progress as a bargaining chip in talks over sanctions relief or regional security. This flexibility allows Iran to extract concessions without surrendering sovereignty. Unlike other nations whose nuclear efforts were dismantled through force or compromise, Iran has preserved its program by playing a long, calculated game. The real power of Iran's nuclear ambiguity is not the bomb itself, but the constant fear of its possibility, which keeps even the most powerful nations guessing. Cautious and engaged, Iran is not feared because it is the most powerful country in the world, but because it is the most unyielding. It challenges the status quo not just with weapons, but with ideas. Its geography commands respect, its self-reliance defies pressure, and its mastery of asymmetrical warfare keeps even the most advanced militaries at bay. Through revolutionary ideology, Iran inspires the oppressed. Through regional alliances, it outmaneuvers its rivals, and through nuclear ambiguity, it turns uncertainty into influence. What the United States fears is not simply what Iran has, but what Iran represents. The possibility that a nation can stand free, think independently, and resist an empire without being destroyed. That truth is not just hidden, it's powerful. Thank you for staying with us till the end of this powerful journey. May this message awaken a deeper understanding of the world around you and the courage within you. Keep seeking the truth, stand firm in your beliefs, and never underestimate the strength of a nation or a soul that refuses to kneel. Good luck, and may your path always be guided by clarity, wisdom, and unshakable conviction.